I was inspired to talk to you about this because I was having a conversation with one of our daughters. Her name is Kendall. And if you're new to the Mel Robbins podcast, my husband and I, we have 3 kids, and our middle daughter, Kendall, is 23, and she's a singer-songwriter. And so we were chatting the other day, and she was super excited because the singer, Victoria Monet, she's an R&B singer, had just won 3 Grammys. And Kendall was so fired up, and I'm like, I don't know a lot about her. Tell me a little bit about her. Why are you so fired up about her? And Kendall was like, oh, check this out. So Mom, Victoria has spent 15 years writing songs with other people and for other people. And you've probably heard of some of the people she's worked with: Ariana Grande, Kendrick Lamar, Selena Gomez, Doja Cat, Brandy, Fifth Harmony. I mean, that is an insane list of writing credits. So clearly, Victoria Monet, very successful singer-songwriter. But here's the thing. That wasn't her biggest ambition. You want to know what her big ambition was? It was to write and perform songs of her own, and to be recognized as the artist that was singing them. She has been waiting for 15 years to be the one up on that stage at the Grammys. And just a few weeks ago, that major ambition of winning a Grammy and being recognized as an artist, it happened because she was named the best new artist of the year, the best album for R&B, and the best engineered album. And by the time you are listening to me right now, she will have also won the Billboard Women in Music Rising Star Award. Now, the reason why this is relevant to you and to the topic of ambition today is because Victoria Monet stood up on that stage at the Grammys and accepted the Best Artist Award. She gave a speech about what it took to spend 15 years in the dark, not being recognized, trying, working, chipping away at that ambition. And our daughter, Kendall, was so inspired by Victoria Monet's speech. She was like, Mom, you have got to listen to this acceptance speech. So I did. And after I heard it, I was like, I have to share this with you. We have got to talk about this. So let me just set the stage a little bit before I play the clip. Victoria has just been announced as winning Grammy for the Best New Artist, okay? She is making her way up to the stage. She gets up to the microphone. They hand her the Grammy. She is wiping away those tears. And then she looks directly at that camera, and she has something to say to you. Quote, I just want to say to everybody who has a dream, look at this as an example. This award was a 15-year pursuit. I moved to LA in 2009, and I like to liken myself to a plant who was planted. And I really want to laser focus in on that last part about how she kept herself going day after day, year after year for 15 years, waiting, just waiting for it to be her turn. She said, I like to liken myself to a plant who was planted. I love that framework. I want to dive into and unpack the thing that she shared, this idea of likening yourself to a plant that has been planted. But first, before we unpack this metaphor, I want to ask you to pause and think. What is your Grammy moment? I'm serious about this. If you were to just roll the clock ahead a year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 15 years, what is it that you really want? And I want you to go really big. That's why I'm calling it a Grammy moment. I mean, a Grammy moment is a big moment. So allow yourself to just open up and visualize something big that you see. Is it making a certain amount of money? More money than you ever thought you would make? Is it a beach house that you want to buy? Or a house in the mountains that you want to build? Or maybe you're an artist. Do you want to go on tour? Or make a living selling your art? Or how about your YouTube channel? Is your Grammy moment hitting 1 million subscribers? Maybe you are so inspired by Studio McGee and Magnolia, and you would love to have an interior design business and launch products, and that's your Grammy moment. Or maybe you see yourself selling your business at some point in the future. The fact is, there is something big inside of you, even if your life may feel small right now. And if you're sitting here and you're trying to imagine a Grammy moment, you're like, but I don't know what I want, but I don't know what I want. If you can't envision the Grammy moment, let's go smaller. Let's go smaller, because there is an idea that is nagging at you. And maybe it doesn't feel very big, and that's why you keep ignoring it. Maybe you've been thinking, I should pick up my paintbrushes again. I should start walking every day after breakfast again. That seed of an idea that you're ignoring, that can be big enough. The whole point of this is to stop questioning and to put yourself into a position to start growing again. You spend too much time debating. Should I be a tulip? Should I be a daisy? Should I be an oak tree? Should I be an apple tree? Should I be an asparagus? Stop. I want you to consider something radical. You don't need to know what you're going to become. Trust that. So whatever that idea is, no matter how small it may be, whether it's picking up the paintbrushes, whether it's going back to school, whether it's simply spending more time with the people that you love, lean into that. And that alone will help you start to grow into a better version of yourself. And so I want you to take a moment and just envision what that beautiful, amazing thing is. And I can share mine. It's probably going to surprise you. But when I close my eyes, I don't imagine something in the media or the podcast space. My moment, a moment that's as big as a Grammy moment, is something that I really want to do. I know it's going to take a lot of work, and I've never done anything like this before. I want to do something in the women's health and supplement space. I mean it. I've no idea where that's coming from, but I just can't deny that this idea is inside of me. And I've probably been thinking about this now for, 3 or 4 years. And I think the reason why I really want to do this, something in the women's health and supplement space, is because I have become very focused on optimizing my own health. And the more I learn about my health, the more it seems like every single woman I know is completely confused about hormone balance and what supplements to take. And it is so overwhelming. And every company that I discover that is targeting women's health, it's typically been launched and run by a bunch of dudes. And so I just see a huge opportunity to create something that really empowers women with a solution that is led by other women. I know you did not expect that from Mel Robbins, did you? Well, it's my Grammy moment. It is not your Grammy moment. And this has been inside of me. Like I know I can feel it. And this is the first time I am publicly saying it. You haven't heard me say this before. Now it's your turn. Stop and think. What's something really big that you would love to see yourself accomplish? That right there. That's your Grammy moment. And I want you to keep that vision in mind as I talk about this metaphor of a plant, because we're going to unpack Victoria's metaphor so that you understand all the components of it and you can use it to help you. It's not only going to help you get started, but this metaphor is going to keep you going when you feel jealous or unlucky or frustrated that success has not come your way, or you feel discouraged because you have no idea how to launch a supplement company. And I can't wait to dig into this with you, because Victoria Monet's Grammy speech offers you guidance on how to navigate this period between having a vision and actually bringing it to light. So here's the metaphor. I like to liken myself to a plant. And I want you to liken yourself to a plant, because This metaphor is going to immediately stop you from questioning whether or not this Grammy moment of yours is even possible. And there are 4 reasons why I want you to use this metaphor. Number 1, every plant starts as a teeny, teeny little seed. But here's the thing about a little seed, which is what you are when you just have a seed of an idea. The thing about a seed that's so cool is absolutely everything that is required of the plant to grow from that teeny tiny little seed into something huge and extraordinary, it is contained inside the seed. And that's why it is so important that you take a moment with me and you acknowledge this seed of a wish or a dream or an idea that you have within you. Because that's all that's required. The seed is the beginning of something extraordinary, and you already have that within you. Because if you can envision that Grammy moment of yours in the future, that's evidence of that seed of an idea. And that's why you need to use this metaphor of a plant that's been planted. Any single time that you start to doubt this idea, like I've doubted this idea, what are you doing thinking about a supplement? That is a dumb, stop. No, Mel, no. Let that seed take root. I mean, think about an acorn. Do you know how little that thing is? It is like this tiny thing in the palm of your hand. And that sucker, over time, can explode into a mighty oak. Why? Because all of that intelligence for the acorn to grow into an oak is already inside the acorn. It knows what to do. The same thing is true for a tulip bulb. A single bulb has everything inside of it in order to explode into a gorgeous tulip in the spring. So do you. Stop doubting yourself and recognize that if you already have this seed of an idea to plant out into the world, it is in you. And it's been sitting there waiting to bloom in all of its unique, beautiful glory. If you have a dream of opening up a restaurant or you want to become a wildly successful influencer, and yet you have all this doubt, stop. Stop and trust. Trust that because you have the idea, it is already in you and you are meant to plant it into the world so that it can bloom. The universe wouldn't give you that idea if it didn't want you to do something with it. And I'm here to tell you to stop questioning it and trust it. And the second reason why this plant metaphor is so powerful is because that seed and a plant, it's designed to grow. And so are you. You are designed to grow from the moment that you are born, and you do not stop growing until the day that you die. And once you actually realize that there is this seed of an idea, it is going to haunt you if you do not grow toward it. And I need you to wrap your mind around the fact that you exist right now because your job is to take this idea and plant it into the world and do what it takes to see it grow. And one of the reasons why you may feel stagnant right now or lost is because you're not taking action on that idea. And here's another example of how plants are designed to grow and that you need to do this. You need to grow. This is the answer that you've been looking for. Have you ever noticed that plants grow toward the light? They can't help themselves. They are designed this way. For example, if you stick tulips in a vase, like the tulips behind me here on YouTube, you can't see them if you're listening to me, but they're gorgeous. They're these bright orange tulips, 4 of them, sitting in a glass vase. If I were to stick that glass vase right on the countertop, within 24 hours, they will be pointed toward the window, looking for the sun, trying to grow. It's called phototropism. For you, it's called action. You must move toward the light. You must take action every single day. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can do to move toward the light of this idea? Now, the third reason why I love this metaphor of likening yourself to a plant is because the undeniable truth about a plant, you cannot force a plant to bloom before it's ready. Every single gardener knows this. If you want to have peas in the middle of the summer to eat, you got to sow those peas into the ground by St. Patrick's Day. Pumpkin seeds, they got to be in the ground right after Mother's Day if you plan to have them ready for Halloween. And no one plants a zucchini on a Monday and expects to be eating it for dinner on a Friday. Why? Because for something to grow, it takes time. And you are too impatient. You are so focused on where everything is leading that you are skipping the most important part, getting started and giving yourself time to grow. See, it's the struggle and the buildup and the journey and the tears and the time and the experience and all the ups and downs. That is the most important part of growth. You know that, but you're not doing it. It's the part where you are sowing the seeds and watering the soil and day in and day out, taking care of what needs to be taken care of and putting in the work that is where the foundation lies. You know, if I take you back to our little acorn, and you plant it in the soil and you put it in the sun and you water it every day, it takes almost 6 weeks for anything to sprout. 6 weeks. And you are giving up before the time that is required. See, it's in this time where you don't see anything happening. That's when the roots are taking shape. That is where the success is being built. And there is no skipping this part. Because anything that's worth doing takes time. It takes time to strengthen the vine, to fortify the stem, to get the roots tough and sturdy so that they can support the beauty that happens above ground a long time from now. And that's your problem. You're so obsessed with what it's going to look like and the final product and the big Grammy moment that you are either quitting too soon or you're not even getting started. And honestly, I think part of your problem is social media. Think about TikTok and Instagram. It is constantly shoved in your face. Here's the final product. Here's the overnight success story. Every other account these days seems to be some influencer telling you how to make $1 million in less than a week or a 2-week program to get 6-pack abs. It's so in your face that it is easy to overlook the truth. And the truth is, even the stuff that's being marketed to you, these makeup tutorials, the new journal businesses, the clothing lines that everybody's launching like that. It took 2 or 3 years of working for somebody to get to the point where they could make one post and market that to you. It didn't happen overnight. They just want you to think it did so that you buy it. But the problem is now you're thinking about life in that regard. You're thinking that things should be going faster and moving along faster, and it should be your turn now. And you're so focused on the end of the game or becoming an overnight success that you stop trusting that your Grammy moment is coming someday. And this is so important because the work that you actually need to do, it requires patience. It takes time because it's in the time and the patience that you build the confidence. So keep reminding yourself that you are a plant that has been planted. But now I know, and you know, why this metaphor is so important. Number one, whatever your genius is, it's already in you. Trust it. Number two, plants are designed to grow, and so are you. So move toward the light and take action to grow. And number three, you can't force a plant to sprout too quickly. Be patient. And this feels like a really good time for us to take a moment and hear a word from our sponsors. They are essential to the Mel Robbins podcast, growing and being here for you. And when we return, we're going to dig into the most critical factor in a plant's ability to grow. And it's a critical factor in your growth too. And it's the environment. So stay with us. Welcome back. I'm Mel Robbins, and you and I are unpacking this metaphor that Victoria Monet shared at the Grammys as she was accepting the award for Best New Artist after working in Hollywood for 15 years as a songwriter for other people. And she shared that she likes to, quote, liken herself as a plant that has been planted. And she uses it as a way to keep herself going during the 15 years that it took for her to get on that Grammy stage. And I want to focus on this idea of being planted and planted in a particular environment, because the environment that you're in is crucial to your success. I mean, it makes sense, right? A tulip can't grow in cement, and you can't grow in cement either. And there was something else that Victoria Monet said when she was at the Grammys that helps us go a layer deeper. She said, quote, "I like to liken myself to a plant who is planted. And you can look at the music industry as soil. It can be looked at as dirty, or it can be looked at as a source of nutrients and water. And my roots have been growing underneath ground unseen for so long." That last part of what she said, my roots have been growing underneath ground unseen for so long. It's such a relatable feeling, isn't it? And what I want to focus on is what she said in the middle, that she was planted in the music industry for the past 15 years. And the music industry can be looked at as soil. And you can look at that soil as either dirty, getting in your way, and not fair, and all the stuff that you and I tell ourselves as we start to feel discouraged that it's not happening fast enough. Or you can look at the soil, the place that you've been planted in, as the source of nutrients and water, something that is nourishing you toward your best self. And the fact is, she's right. The environment that you're in is critical to your growth, which begs the question, are you even planted somewhere? When you think about this big Grammy moment, the thing that you really want to work toward, are you even planted? Or are you busy looking at other people's gardens? If you haven't started on your goal, then you aren't even planted yet. You're a pack of seeds sitting in the display rack at Home Depot, just waiting for somebody to buy it, nestle it into the ground, get things going. And that's probably where you are, because the hardest part of growing is starting. You have to put the seed in the soil so that it actually can have a chance to grow. And so answer this question honestly for yourself. Am I even planted? Or am I just looking at other people's gardens? Am I looking at social media and TikTok and Instagram and all these influencers? Because that's exactly what it means to look at someone else's garden. You're not going to grow by doing that. You're going to actually feel stagnant. You're going to feel lost. You're going to feel discouraged. At some point, you got to wake the hell up and you got to plant yourself. And if you have a seed of an idea, you've got everything inside of you to bloom into something extraordinary over time. Have you even started drafting out a table of contents for that book you've always dreamt of writing? Have you had the conversation with your boss about moving from HR to marketing? Have you started looking for therapists? Like truly looking, calling, checking insurance? Have you had that conversation with your partner about what's been triggering you and why you're so annoyed all the time? Or are you waiting for them to do it? Like, you can either be thinking about something, sitting around waiting for someone else to spot you and sign you to a label instead of creating and publishing your own music. I want to tell you something. No one is coming. You need to start. You need to plant yourself so you can then begin to do the work to put down those roots, to wake up every day and put in the daily reps that it's going to take to grow into something extraordinary. It might take you 15 days. You might be lucky. Might take you 15 months. Might take you 15 years. The difference between people who are successful and have everything that you want is they didn't quit when they felt like quitting. They got started instead of thinking about it. And you will never succeed. I won't succeed either in this idea of a supplement business. So let me come back to that question. What is your Grammy moment? Really visualize it. You know, when I close my eyes, I can see the packaging. I can see it on a conveyor belt being packaged. That's how much I can put myself there. I bet you can do the same thing. Well, guess what? It's time to prove it. Not to me, but to yourself. I don't think you realize how much time you're wasting looking at other people's gardens, checking out all the other flowers, talking about what everybody else is doing instead of taking the action and committing to your own growth. And if you're sitting there and you're complaining to me, you're kind of like, well, I'm not really going anywhere. I guarantee you haven't planted yourself. You sort of dancing around the idea, buying planners instead of actually doing the work. Do you do that? I do that. That's like sort of the preparing. It's sort of the easy way to kind of make an idea feel like it might be an idea. Okay, we're doing. No, you're not. No, you're not. I'm going to call you out on this because it's the same thing that I do. I have done this in so many areas of my life where I've admired other people's gardens and then bitched about the fact that I'm not going anywhere. I'll admit something to you. When I was in my 40s, I was so lonely. I mean, I had no social life. It's as if the bottom dropped out. And do you want to know what I did about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I knew what I wanted. I could visualize it. But I didn't do anything about it. I spent a lot of time looking at what other people were doing and then comparing myself to them or complaining to myself about it. When's it going to be my turn? Where did all my friends go? Why does nobody invite me anywhere? Why am I never going on these cool girl trips? Why does everybody else seem to have such amazing friends from high school and college and 55 bridesmaids in their weddings and raising their kids together? I mean, this went on for years. Why? Because I was staring at other people's gardens and then using that to keep myself from doing anything. And for me, that big idea, that Grammy moment, if you will, was a life that was filled with friendship. That's what I wanted. That vision was so beautiful. I wanted it to bloom so desperately into its fullest expression. And yet it just remained a seed. And here's the epiphany. It's not until I was brutally honest with myself. Mel Robbins, sitting here behind this desk, scrolling through social media, it is not going to get you the friendships you want. All this freaking jealousy that you have, looking at what everybody else has sowed in their life, looking at the fruits that it bared, it is not going to get you what you want. Woman, what are you going to do about it? See, this is where you have to really think about the environment of your mindset. You want this aspect of your life to go, prove it. If I want this supplement company to happen, I got to prove it. If I want to have incredible friendships bloom in my life, I got to prove it. I cannot be the human version of a tulip in a tub of concrete and then complain, why am I not growing? Why is it? You want to know where grass grows? Grass grows where you water it. So if this is you in any area of your life where the grass is dead, no, it's dirt. It is downright dirt. And you're sick of looking at other people's beautiful lawns. Shut your mouth. Get off social media. Don't tell me what you want or what you can't do. You want a green, beautiful, lush lawn? Then you better sow the seeds and then you better take care of it. Not once, but every day. You got to water that new lawn every single day. Well, my neighbor's lawn is really green and you know, their dad put it in for him. And so they got, who gives a shit? Is that going to help your lawn grow? No. You got to get serious about what you want. And then you have to plant yourself. And by planting yourself, I mean, you get to work. Stop talking and start doing. And so I'm going to hit the pause so you can hear a few short words for our amazing sponsors. But don't you dare go anywhere. Welcome back. It's your friend Mel, and we are talking about how you achieve your biggest ambition. And we've been unpacking something that Victoria Monet said when she won the Grammy for the Best New Artist. And winning a Grammy, that is achieving a huge ambition. And you are going to achieve your huge ambitions. So now I want to talk to those of you who have started. You have ripped open that seed packet. You have seeded the lawn. You've been out there standing with the hose, watering everything. You got yourself out of the cement and you put yourself into a beautiful pot. I'm talking to those of you, for example, who've been writing songs for other artists like Victoria Monet. She was doing that just not so long ago. I'm talking to those of you who are halfway through 75 Hard, or you're on your third draft of your manuscript, or maybe you're in your first week of marathon training, or your fifth month of interviewing for a new job, and you have started, and I want to tell you, amazing job. Congratulations. Getting started is the hardest part. Do you know how huge this is that you're doing it? That is incredible. And every single day that passes by, those little roots, they are spreading underground. Even though you may not see anything happening, they are spreading. Every day when you wake up and you take a step forward, you're learning something. You're getting a little stronger. You're gaining skills. You're starting to get a little bit confident. It's really working, even though you're sitting there going, well, I don't have a job yet. When am I going to start making real money? Why does this look easy for everybody else? When's it going to be my turn to be the one on stage, to win the award, to make amazing money? When am I going to be the one to sprout? Great question. Great question. If that's you, ask yourself, are you in a place right now where you are going to continue to grow? Like if you're complaining about the dirt, then do something about it. But you got to ask yourself for real, are you actually getting the nourishment that you need? Are you getting the support from yourself and the people around you? If not, it is time to pick up your roots and move yourself from that little pot where you become root bound and plant yourself somewhere else, somewhere where you have a little bit more room to grow, a little bit more positivity and sunshine, where the soil is maybe a little richer, a little more nourishing. Maybe it's full of other plants that are kind of like you. It's time for a new environment. It's time to raise the game, to try new things, to be around more people. It is time to level up. It is time to pick yourself up and actually put yourself in a different place to grow. So here's the example. For the past 5 years, my husband, Christopher, he has really been wanting to write a book. And if you're new to the podcast, my husband, Chris, leads men's retreats. He is a death doula. He is about to finish his master's in transpersonal psychology. This is a human being on a mission to make a difference, helping other men create more meaningful lives. And for the last 5 years, Christopher Robbins has had a Grammy moment. He has had this vision in his mind. He has had the seed of an idea, and here it is. He really wants to write a book. And I got to acknowledge him. He didn't leave that seed of an idea in a packet on some display shelf. He planted it. Here's what he's been doing. For 5 years, the man has been silently, quietly writing. Every day when he wakes up for the past 5 years, he has written in a journal. And he says, you know, Mel, I must have written over 400,000 words by hand in my journals these past 5 years. 400,000 words. Not another human being has read it. This is something he's been doing day in and day out. So let me ask you, are the roots growing? Absolutely. Stronger every day. Is he becoming a better writer? Absolutely. And you want to know how he feels? He feels the same way that Victoria Monet felt, unseen. He's questioning. He's wondering if this is leading anywhere. And I can recall at least a dozen times in the past year alone where he's turned to me and said, you know, I just don't feel like I have anything to say. I mean, absolutely everything that I would actually want to write a book about. I mean, somebody's already published a book on that topic. Somebody has already researched it. I mean, what more do I have to say that's any different than what somebody else has already had to say? And I'm sure Victoria Monet felt the same during those 15 years. Just like I'm sure you've probably felt more times than you can remember. Well, about a year ago, it was very clear that Chris had stopped growing. This daily practice of writing in his journal, I mean, it had certainly grown a very, very large system of roots. It had created this foundation. He clearly is a writer, but he needs a bigger pot. He needs more nourishment. He needs to improve the soil that he's in. He needs to change the environment so that he can continue to grow. So what did he do? He hired a writing coach. And, when he told me, I'm like, what's a writing coach? He said, it is somebody that I talk to once a month that makes sure I write this book. They help me with the table of contents. They give me assignments related to the book. They help me continue to move toward the light. Just like a plant turns toward the sun. Chris took the actions that helped him turn toward this idea of writing a book. Now, this coach certainly helps water and nourish and grow Chris into becoming a writer. And honestly, you need to do the exact same thing. If you're already chipping away at this and you're feeling stagnant, and you know what that feeling feels like, you have to get into a different or bigger or deeper or wider environment. And for me, an example of this was joining a mastermind group with other people that are in the same business, authors and podcasters, and surrounding yourself with people that are pursuing what you want is one of the best ways that you can continue to grow. And see, I think you make a mistake. You make a mistake that I made, which is you think you're in competition with people who have already had the Grammy moment. Those people that have had a Grammy moment, those are not people that you're in competition with. Those people should be your best friends because they know what you're going through. And you think that, oh my gosh, if I'm around other people that want the same things that I want, then those people are going to cast shadows and I'm not going to be able to grow around. Baloney. Are you kidding me? Being around other people that want similar things is a way that you can invest in your own growth. Go find them. That's where you want to be. And if you're sitting there and you're still like getting all antsy and annoyed with me and you're like, I have been doing that. Nothing's happening. I'm going to ask you something. Are you actually hitting it every single day? 100%. If you've been at this for a while, I'm willing to bet you're probably on a little bit of an autopilot. You're probably just cruising along because you're convincing it's not going to happen for me. You're kind of resigned. The message for you is very clear. You got to be patient. If you've been at this for a while, you probably forgot about the fundamentals. You probably forgot that all that stuff that you hate doing, the stuff that's a pain, you probably stopped doing that. That's always what happens with me. Same is true with a lawn, by the way. Your grass could be absolutely gorgeous and green at the beginning of the summer. What happens if you stop doing one of the fundamental things like watering it? In the sun, it basically burns and dries up and dies. And if you stop doing the fundamentals because you get discouraged or you're tired or you're just sick of it, that's going to happen to you. So the takeaway for you is get back to the basics, get back to the roots, get back to the fundamentals, all that stuff that nobody wants to do. And don't quit. Day in and day out, build the roots because it's from those roots and the foundational actions that you have to take that you have the strength to continue to bloom. And I need to warn you about something. It's not going to happen overnight. It just doesn't. It's going to take time. And you're going to have to sit there in the soil. And you have to remind yourself that you are growing and that when the time is right, those roots, they will be there to lift you toward your version of a Grammy. Don't forget, it took Victoria Monet 15 years of feeling unseen and defeated and questioning if her dream to write a top song of her own was ever going to happen. That is 5,478 days to win her first Grammy. And I want you to ask yourself now, how long have you been at your goal? And don't let this question discourage you, because it's easy to forget that over the course of those 15 years, Victoria was doing some pretty amazing things. I mean, she was writing songs with Ariana Grande and Brandy and so many other amazing artists. And there's no doubt that those experiences, well, she may have felt unseen. They're part of the root system. It contributed to her growth. It supported her in going on and being able to win those 3 Grammys. It means that when she burst onto the scene, you know what we know about her? This is not going to be a one and done. Oh, hell no. This is just the beginning. And you're going to be the same way. Why? Because the roots are strong. Do not forget to count all those little wins along the way. You may be knocked down at the end of your rope and you can have your big cry, But those of us who become successful are the people who wake up tomorrow morning and we keep going after it. The game of success is about stamina. Do not allow yourself to be sitting around looking at everybody else blooming and going, it's never going to be my turn. Of course it's going to be your turn. Why? Because you're designed to grow. And trust me, I wish there was a shortcut. But in life, there is no miracle grow to make you bloom faster. But one thing that I have found that helps me on those days when I feel like, my God, is this ever going to happen? Is just 6 simple words. What if this does work out? What if on those days where I don't feel seen or I start to question the sanity of my idea? Boy, it's a dumb idea, Mel. What are you doing thinking about that stuff? I know you've said that to yourself. Just remind yourself, what if this does work out? When I say those 6 words, it keeps me in the game. And that's all you need to do. And before you know it, I promise you, you will find yourself just like Victoria Monet did. At the very end of her speech, she said, quote, and my roots have been growing underneath ground unseen for so long, and I feel like today I am sprouting above ground. I love that she used the word sprout, because when I hear the word sprout, I think of this teeny tiny little thing, that kind of comes up from the seed. And I would have expected her in a moment like that to be like, I am a big, beautiful bloom and I am just getting started. And that's the genius of this metaphor, that you are going to grow your whole life. And this idea will take hold. Why? Because of your roots. Big goals, just like huge, beautiful blooms on a flower, they require a big root system in order to support them. That mighty oak that sprouts from a teeny tiny acorn, massive root system, period. And I believe that patience is the most important thing, because the time that you spend building is directly proportionate to just how big and how beautiful your life is going to be. Now, goal setting, it sounds simple, right? You just set a goal, then you go after it. Goal setting is something that I screwed up for years. I was the poster child of making resolutions and of being all talk, no walk. I was part of the 81% of people that had bailed on my resolutions by the time January 1st rolled around. That is, until I dug into the research, read the books, studied the experts, and figured out how you set goals and do it right according to what research has to say. And I want to talk to you about this today because I am getting an avalanche of questions and messages about setting goals and breaking and making new habits, like this one from Dave.
Hey Mel, this is Dave. I'm wondering if you can talk about goal setting and how to do it right. There's a lot of talk about resolutions and goals, especially with the new year coming up. And in the past, I've had a hard time setting them and achieving goals. Could you give me any tips?
First, I want to say to you, Dave, thank you for this question, because you're not the only one that has a hard time setting and achieving goals. And I'm not only going to give you tips. Today, we are going to have a masterclass in goal setting. In fact, I am so excited by the number of you that are looking for information about ways to set and achieve goals this year that I've decided we're going to do something a little different. For the next month or so, you and I are going to dig into the most foundational and important building blocks that you need in order to create lasting change in your life. These are the topics that I have been researching and teaching around the world. These are the topics that I write about in my books and in our audio projects with Audible. This is what I have been studying for years. And so here's what we're going to do. And I am so excited about this. For at least the next month, all of the coming episodes are going to be masterclasses, toolkits, 101s on the most important topics when it comes to personal development, success, happiness, creating a better life. Today, we're going to dive into goal setting, but then we're going to jump right into habits, mindset, anxiety, relationships, mental health, healing your nervous system and trauma, confidence, boundaries, happiness, meaning, and purpose. Why? Well, because these are the foundational pillars to create a better life. And when you understand these topics and the latest research, most importantly, you have simple tools that you can apply immediately to your own life. That's a game changer. And so that's what we're going to be doing in every single episode. Why? Well, change is always going to be hard. Always. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But neuroscience, academic research, and other people's personal experiences can provide unbelievable insights into how, when, and why behavior change efforts on your part can succeed or fail. And I want you to have all of this and be able to use it to your advantage. I already mentioned that 81% of people give up on their goals. Well, guess what? That's not going to be you, because you, my friend, are going to have the science, the tools, the strategies, the shortcuts to not only making change happen, but making it stick. And so this awesome series that we are programming and bringing to life for you is going to begin today with the topic of goal setting. Because one of the things that I know based on the research is that no change will last in your life if it's not personally connected to you. And no goal will be achieved if you don't have a connection to why you want to achieve it. And so I figured if we're going to do a big series that's going to give you the foundational aspect and most recent research around changing your life, we better start with an episode where you identify personal, relevant, and achievable goals that you're excited about. That way, every single other episode that you hear in this series for the next month or so, it's going to help you achieve something that really matters to you. And the fact is, goals matter. According to the research, and you probably have experienced this when you have been working on goals, goals matter because number one, they make you happier. Number two, they suppress negative emotions. And in fact, based on some groundbreaking research out of the University of Wisconsin, having goals that you're working on can even suppress feelings of fear and depression. I mean, that's pretty cool. Third, goals give you a sense of purpose, meaning, and being up to something. In fact, I just had a conversation with our daughter, Sawyer, who was saying that she's kind of in a rut. She's like, I just feel like my life is the same old, same old. Like every day is the same damn day. And it's only gotten worse because she works remote, and she's worked remote for over a year and a half since she first interned for the company she works for as a senior in college. She's almost never gone into the office. No holiday parties, no nothing in person. Every day she sits at her desk at home and works virtually. She hangs out with her roommates who she loves, but it's like the same thing in and out. You want to know what's going to fix this? Goals. Because when you have goals, it interrupts the day-to-day doldrum. It gives you something to look forward to. It makes you feel like something cool is happening. And that leads me to the fourth benefit. Life is harder when you have no goals. Based on the research, having goals makes your life feel easier. And I think even just that little story I just told you about my daughter feeling like she's in a rut, you can see that when you're in a rut, life is hard. When you feel stuck, when things are monotonous, it's hard. When you got something that excites you, something that you're working toward, that's pretty awesome. And that's why you and me, we are going to start with your goals because they matter. And what also matters is how you set them. Because if you don't set goals the right way, based on science, you fail before you even start. And that was Mel Robbins for years. So think of this episode as a comprehensive toolkit that will help you make goals that are going to keep you inspired, that you can achieve, that are going to make you feel excited about the year ahead and what you're up to. And I have one promise to share with you. You're not only going to learn a lot today, by the time this episode is done, you're going to have identified between 1 and 3 goals. And you're going to do it with me, side by side, as I identify 1 to 3 goals for myself. And we are also going to apply the latest research every single step of the way. And I want to share that up front because I expect your goals to change from the beginning of this episode until the very end, because you are going to be applying the research all the way through this episode. By the end of our conversation, you're not only going to have defined these goals, you will have refined them, and you will have taken steps toward them. How freaking cool is that? So make sure you listen all the way to the end because we are going to cover a ton of ground today. So let me just preview what you're going to learn today. We're going to start by unpacking really exciting research that's pretty recent out of the University of Oregon that simplifies goal setting into two major components of what makes up a goal. And if you don't have these two major components present when you set your goals, you will fail. Seeing this study made me realize why I have failed in the past at setting certain goals. I'll tell you those stories because I think that they're going to help you. But this is really exciting stuff because it's super simple and there's so much research here. Second, as you begin to identify the goals using these two components that we're going to unpack, I'm going to walk you through the 5 mistakes that everybody makes that prevent you from achieving your goals. And you're not going to make these mistakes because now that you got your goals identified based on the University of Oregon research, we're going to make sure we refine those goals using the 5 mistakes so that you can avoid the pitfalls that I know I've fallen into. And step by step by step, we are going to support you. I'm so excited for this episode, honestly, because I'm going to do this with you. And you're also going to learn about a widely reported study regarding whether or not you should talk about your goals. This is a study that people cite all over the place that has been debunked. And I will tell you the new research related to whether or not you should ever talk about your goals. Okay? Cool. You ready? I got to take a breath because there's a lot we're going to do. Whew. I'm really, really excited about this. I love goals. And I also love this recent research that I found from Dr. Elliot Berkman at the University of Oregon. Now, Dr. Berkman is the co-director of the Center for Translational Neuroscience, and he studies the motivational and cognitive factors that contribute to success or failure at achieving goals. I mean, he's figured this out for both of us. How cool is this? And when you hear this research, this is kind of one of those studies where you're like, well, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Why did nobody tell me this? So first, let's start with his definition of a goal, okay? Dr. Berkman's definition of a goal is this. A goal is any desired outcome that wouldn't otherwise happen without you doing something. Let me unpack this. This is kind of illuminating, okay? So a goal is any desired outcome that wouldn't otherwise happen without you doing something. So I'll give you an example of a goal. Let's say that this was the year that you're like, that's it, I'm getting 6-pack abs this year. If you have a goal of getting 6-pack abs, you have to do something different. That's why it's a goal. If you have a goal of getting out of debt, for example, you have to do something to make that goal happen. Let me give you an example of what is not a goal. Watching that series that you're addicted to right now for my family, it's Gangs of London. I don't have to do anything different to watch the series Gangs of London. You see how that's not a goal? The reason why it's not a goal is there is zero resistance. There is zero change. There's zero that I have to do differently. Goals naturally contain friction and resistance because they require you to do something new. Now, that might sound obvious, but if you don't get that a goal is going to require you to push through some kind of resistance, you're going to fail at setting them. They're going to be way too easy, okay? So let's start applying this to your life right now. I want you to think about an area of your life that you would like to improve or where you want to set a goal. So just stop and think about the coming year. What is an area of your life that you want to improve or where you want to make a new goal? I have 3 that I'm going to share with you. And one of my goals for the coming year is in the area of free time and hobbies and having fun. A second goal of mine is going to impact my health in a positive way. And the third is about my mindset and focus and clarity. So I'm going to unpack these and I invite you to listen along. And as I'm explaining my goals, think about what you're inspired to change, where you're willing to do something different. So I'm going to start with number 1, hobbies and having more fun. I really want to spend more time. One goal of mine this year is to spend more time gardening. I just love gardening, not vegetables. I like flowers, landscape. And I want to make sure a goal of mine this year is that I spend more time gardening. That's one goal. Now, a second goal that I have for this year is related to my health, and I want to stop drinking for a while this year. And I can get into more as we unpack this and go through the research, but that's a goal of mine, to really just knock off the booze for a bit. And third is about my mindset. I want to get back, this is a goal of mine, to a consistent journaling practice every single morning. There are things that I do every single morning that have zero resistance. I don't even have to think about it. I roll out of bed when the alarm rings, no resistance. I high five the mirror every morning and set an intention. I have no resistance. I have a cup of coffee every morning, no resistance. I typically move my body most mornings, no resistance. But something that I really want to make a goal of mine is having a consistent journaling practice every single morning. That would be pretty cool for me. So I want you to now stop and think about you. What are goals that you have for the coming year that are going to require you to do something different in order to make this goal happen? Now, I want to stop for a second because I want to address something that you may be thinking right now because it's a question I'm seeing a lot.
Hey Mel, how do I set my goals if I can't determine what my goals are?
I absolutely love this question. And by the way, it's super common to have no idea what you want. And I'm going to give you a number of research-backed strategies that you can use to kind of cut through the uncertainty or the overwhelm or the fog in your brain and identify at least one goal by the end of this podcast that is personal and motivating to you. But I also want to talk about something that gets in a lot of people's way other than just not being sure what your goal should be, and that's perfectionism. If you're the kind of person that is constantly aiming for these crazy high and unattainable goals, that's very demotivating because super high goals, unattainable goals, what happens is you don't achieve those. And so you start to feel like a failure. And perfectionism can get in your way of setting goals because you start to figure, well, if you don't set a goal, then you can't fail. Perfectionism, according to the research around goal setting, looks a lot like this. You set goals, but then you give up before you start. Or you want to set goals, but you burn all your time just kind of analyzing and analysis paralysis. Or you also just avoid the situations where you feel like you're going to fail. So here's an example. You are really wanting to take your health seriously this year. And you set a goal of going to the gym every single day and exercising for 2 hours a day. And you literally fail before you even start because you're trying to get it perfect. And we're going to address that. Don't you worry. So whether you're dealing with brain fog or you're dealing with perfectionism, this is super common to not really know what your goals are. So let's talk about the research, okay? These are prompts that are going to help you to relax and to dream a little bit and to lean into goals that are really going to make a difference in your life. Because I want you to have goals. They really matter. So number one, it's really important that you make sure that your goals are really aligned with your dreams. And if you can't come up with any goals that really inspire you, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I want to invite you to think even bigger. If you allow yourself to start dreaming again, then what you and I can do, if you can identify the dream, is you and I can then use the research to scale that big, awesome dream of yours back and turn it into small, achievable goals. This is based in research. And so I invite you, if you don't know what you want, allow yourself to dream big again. And then we'll get into the research about how to make that big dream a smaller goal. Now, here's a second tip. And this one's a little morbid, but it tends to work. If you don't know where to start, think about the end. Like the real end, your death. When you think about the fact that at some point this amazing thing called life comes to an end, what do you want to have achieved in your life? When you think about it in reverse, trust me, you're not going to wish that you spent more days at work. You're going to wish that you spent more time outside or more time with family. You're going to wish that you did pick up the guitar. You're going to wish that you did take on some of the goals that are buried deep within your heart. And so if you truly feel stuck, think about your own death. Research shows that it prompts you to get in touch with what matters to you. Now, you could also, if that doesn't float your boat, you can also just get quiet. And this is based in powerful research. Basically, mindful individuals are way better at setting the right goals for themselves. And I personally believe that one of the reasons why is that when you have a mindfulness practice, whether it's a meditation practice or heck, just get out in the woods for a walk. Have you noticed that if you ever take a long walk on a beach, that by the end of that 30-minute stroll, you've worked out a lot of your problems in life because you've gotten quiet? If you get quiet, you can hear the most important sound in the world, and that's your own voice. And that matters when it comes to goal setting, because the best goals are those goals that are personally relevant, meaningful, and enjoyable to you. Now, researchers have a term for this. They call goals that are personal to you self-concordant goals, or want-to goals. This comes from researchers at Carleton University. I like to call these goals personal goals. Getting in touch with yourself helps you set these kind of concordant goals. They are not goals that you feel pressure to do out of obligation. I think we've all taken on those goals, right? Where you're like, all right, everybody's getting in shape. Oh, everybody's doing Whole30. Oh, everybody's doing this. Guess I better do that too. Those kind of goals don't work because you're not interested in those goals. You want goals that are in touch with something personal to you. And here's another really interesting little hack that really works. You're going to use the third person. So using a third person perspective, according to research at Cornell, can help you identify and achieve personal goals better. And so now I'm going to turn it back to you again. And I want you to use the third person research from Cornell. I'm going to use it first. And then I do want you to say your goals out loud, okay? I've already shared my goals, but let's make these Cornell University style goals, okay? And let's do the third person. Mel would really love to spend more time gardening this year. You know, it feels kind of funny when you say that. It's almost like it's happening. Now you say it. What would you love to do? Say it in the third person in your name. Here's another one of mine. Mel has a goal to not drink at the beginning of this year. It sounds like more authoritative. It really, you got to try this. It's so wacky how this works. Mel, you know that Mel? She would love to get up every day and have a rock solid journaling routine. It's weird how that Cornell University works. And now it's your turn. Use the third person. Take a minute, hit pause, and say what you want out loud. Go ahead. It's kind of weird, isn't it, when you use your own name? And look, it's okay if it's super general. Mine are really general. Did you notice that? My goals right now, they're just things I kind of want to do. I want to journal. I want to not drink for a couple months. And I want to spend more time gardening. But by the time this episode is done, you and I are going to refine these general statements, these goals, using research. And so let's dig into this exciting research that I promised to talk about from the University of Oregon. So here's the most important thing about goals. And I love this study because it boils goals down into two things that have to be present. If these two components of a goal are not present, you're not doing shit when it comes to this goal. I have experienced this in my life. You have experienced this, and I can't wait for you to hear this. So the two components to achieving any goal is that there must be what researchers call the will and the way. The will of any goal refers to the motivational and emotional aspects of the behavior change. In other words, the why. The will is the why of behavior change. So let me ask you a couple questions that researchers kind of unpacked in this study. that are going to help you really clarify the why when it comes to the goals that you're thinking about as you and I are talking right now. Why is the behavior change important to you? Why do you want to change? Why now? And I'm going to go through these and I'm going to use one of my goals, gardening. Why is the behavior change important to you? Well, it's important to me, this goal of spending more time this year gardening, because I love gardening. And I've talked a lot on this podcast about how I am addicted to being busy and it causes a lot of stress. And when I'm out in the garden, it's super relaxing. It's really creative. I love growing flowers from seed. I love cutting flowers and bringing them in. The second question, why do you want to change? I want to change because I want to be present more in my life. I want to change because I want to get serious about having more fun and being more creative. And this third question, why now? Why now? Why is this a goal now in your life? Well, for me, why now is because I just feel called to do it. I feel like if I'm ever going to break this addiction to being busy and I'm going to find more time to truly enjoy my life, I have to get serious about making that change now. Like, why wait? And so I feel called to do it. So that's the first part. And I want you to ask those questions of yourself for any goal you want to set. Why is the behavior important to you? Why do you want to change? Why now? And if you don't have an answer to those questions, that goal that you're thinking about will not work, because the will to do it, the motivation, the why, it's not going to be there because it's not personal to anything to you. Now let's talk about the second component, okay? The second component in this study from the University of Oregon is the way. And the way refers to the cognitive and informational aspects of the behavior change. I call this the how. The way is the how of behavior change. And so let me walk you through those questions. How is this behavior change going to unfold? What skills and capacities does it require? What is the specific plan for doing it? And for me, the behavior change that's going to unfold is I am going to study how to create a cutting garden. I'm going to build my own little, what are they called? Like raised bed thingies that you kind of put the thingies in. I'm going to learn about cultivating flowers from seeds. What skills and capacities does it require? Well, a lot for me. What is the specific plan? I'm in the middle of creating the plan. And I think you can start to see as you ask yourself these questions about the goal that you have. How's this behavior change going to unfold? What skills and capacities does it require? What is the specific plan for getting this done? I think you can see that if you don't identify the how, that change ain't happening. Because willpower alone, motivation alone, it's not enough. You got to have, according to the research, both the why and the how in order to be successful at changing behavior. And so the takeaway here, based in science, is that any goal requires two things. There must be a will and a way, a why and a how. And here's why this is really interesting. Neuroscience has revealed that your brain system involved in those two sides of the behavior change are entirely different from one another. So for example, the how you're going to make this goal a reality, that's all the brain circuits that are involved in executive functioning, including your prefrontal cortex, among other areas of the brain. The why, on the other hand, is the dopaminergic, I can't even say it, that's why I can't say it. It's the dopamine reward system within the brain. That's the why. And you need both. You need to tackle the how, which is having the know-how, the skills, the plan, the push. And you also got to have the why. And the why is what comes into play when you know what to do, but you can't do it. It's how you hack the motivation. And what studies reveal is that this is hard because new behaviors, they're rarely as motivating. As much as we may love to make a plan and you may love to buy a new journal, or I used to love to buy a new planner. You know, when you buy a new calendar for the new semester and it feels like the new you. I just loved the planning part. Have you ever had that experience where you're all excited to go to the gym? You're all excited to try this new routine. You're all excited for this new habit. And the day one that comes, no motivation at all. I mean, it makes sense, because why would you want to try that new HIIT exercise when you know that watching Netflix, something you do all the time, is way more enjoyable? That's why having both is super important. You cannot just have the why you want to do it with no plan. That doesn't work. And you also can't have a plan and have no reason why you want to get it done. And when you really stop and think about your goals this way, having a why and a how, it's what's going to get you excited. And if you're somebody that continues to make goals, but you constantly give up on them, I'm going to tell you something right now. Those goals are not linked to something that you value, to a core belief. And the second that you make that link and you make these goals personal, holy cow, you will be unstoppable. So we've covered the two components of goals based on the research at University of Oregon. I've asked you to walk through the questions of the why and the how about the goals that you're starting to set. And I want to say something right now. If you're starting to feel like the things you wrote down in the beginning are not the goals that you want, that's great. You may change things up completely from the beginning of this episode, the middle of the episode, and the end of the episode. That's the point of this. Listening to research is not going to change your life. Applying the research will. So please, as you're gaining insight and as you're taking this, and as you're taking these tools that I'm sharing with you, and you're applying them to the way that you're thinking about your own goals for the next year, please allow yourself to change. Please allow yourself to modify the goals, because that is going to help you achieve them.
I'm an illustration artist, and a little bit of a backstory. So starting with the sad stuff first. So my parents, my parents passed away, my dad in 2018 and my mother in 2019. Two traumas for me, but therapy is going really, really well. So I'm good. I left my work field. I have a bachelor in educational science. So in German, it's Pädagogik in English, I don't know.
Yep.
And I opened my own online shop in January 2021, where I sell my illustrations and stuff. And I now have an exhausting part-time job, a cleaning part-time job, because I have to pay my bills. I have to live, and 12 hours a week. Like I said, really exhausting, but it's fine. That's
well. You also said though that you literally have no debt and you have savings, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to point out to everybody.
Yeah.
I have a terrible habit of focusing on what's going wrong. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Me?
Let me tell you, Elena,
yeah,
a different way to tell that story. I lost my mom and dad. Devastating. And I'm really proud of myself, which you did say, because I've done a tremendous amount of work and I've pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and I sell my illustrations online. And you know what? Even though it's a lot of work, 12 hours a week, I work this job cleaning. It's enough to pay my bills. It gives me time to do other things. I have no debt. I have savings. And this girl has some big dreams. And that's why I signed up for B School.
Exactly.
And when I read your thing, you want to be a travel blogger, it sounds like.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Does that scare you?
Not at all. I'm pushing myself quite a lot. Even before my parents passed, I had the goal, okay, I want to make my illustration job and so on. But here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
I'm doing this since, like I said, I mean, I draw for more years now, but I started the online business 2021. So
yeah.
And I'm not making that much income. Sometimes there are months where I'm making nothing. And that's totally fine because I'm at the beginning. I also have, that's also good to know. I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I love making videos. I'm learning so much. I started TikTok. I have my homepage. I'm writing blog posts. Mel, I also wrote a blog post about you.
Oh. I'll have to read it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because there's a huge theme here. You guys noticing the theme with everybody? You guys all have lots of stuff going on. And that's an important thing if you need to have a lot of stuff going on to make ends meet.
Mm.
And I love that you're saying that your illustrations and that store is at the very beginning of the process, and that's going to take time. That's true. But here's what I don't hear. What do you want your life to look like?
I want this to go pretty well. I want to be able, like I wrote, I want to be able to travel. And my goal is to make this happen next year. And so what do you mean by travel? See, the other thing I'm going to keep pointing out to everybody is that before you can figure out the plan or the map to get where you want to go, you got to pick your head up and point at what you want. And the more specific the destination, the better. It is impossible to give you great guidance and coaching if I don't know exactly what you want. Because here's the thing, if you really wanted life where you travel, I can tell you 10 travel bloggers that you should follow. You can stalk their stories, and with your skills, you could probably be making money and doing that full time in a matter of 3 to 6 months. Because there are magazines that are looking for freelancers to do that. Once you get with one hotel, they connect you with another hotel. Once you start tagging people, cafes, it is one of those things that builds. You've told me you have no debt, that you have savings, that you have a job that is 12 hours a week that is not keeping you somewhere. So what do you actually want? I know when I do this next year. So my first goal is to go to Japan again for 3 months.
Okay.
And I know that at my part-time job, they won't let me go and say, okay, it's unpaid vacation. And when you come back here, you can start again. So I know, okay, it's kind of...
So here's what's interesting. You ready? Yeah. I'm going to push you a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Do you is that house that you're sitting in a place that you own that you have to pay for?
Nope, it's a flat. And it's the flat of my best friend. And I have to pay such less money.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Your whole life is organized around what's happening at this 12-hour week job.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know why I'm pointing that out?
No.
We are in the single best job market in 40 years.
What was my best job?
No. This is the best job market in 40 years. People cannot find people to work.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm trying to tell you is that you're organizing your entire life around a part-time job.
I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
Yeah, I have the exact same thought. They are
no, but where am I
jobs.
going? Where am I going? I'm going to push you.
There are shitty jobs out there everywhere. I can.
There's a shitty job in Japan waiting for you.
Yeah, everywhere. I know. Yeah.
Your issue is courage.
Yeah. That's fun because courage is one of my things that I'm keeping pushing myself. Okay. Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. That's right.
I have a feeling that you holding on to where you are has to do with grieving.
Grieving and maybe, okay, my because I have a partner and he also lives here. But I think we can maybe hopefully figure something out.
Elena?
Yeah.
Hope is for children on Christmas morning who hope that they're going to get a certain present. You are a 33-year-old brilliant woman who has taken control of her healing, who has figured out how to set up an entire business around your illustrations. You have paid off your debt. You have savings. We are no longer in a game of hope. We are in the business of creating a life that's amazing. And that begins the moment you wake up and go, what the fuck am I doing? I'm worried about this job. I am going to call a meeting tonight with my partner and I'm going to say, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are going to reinvent our lives. Fuck it. Let's figure out how to go to Japan for 3 months. Because this shitty job's going to be here and so is this flat when we decide we don't like it. And if I burn through my savings trying to figure something out because I can't figure out how to make that work, then I'll just save more money.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
I'm writing courage big on
courage. And courage means action.
Yeah.
You're going to feel afraid, but this is the day.
No, that's normal growth.
You're not going to grow in that flat. And you're not going to grow next year. And I'm not going to allow you to wait another year.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm feeling. Every time I wake up, I'm doing my stuff and I'm doing quite a lot of stuff. And I wrote it also to you. Wait, let me point this out.
I saw it. I don't need this. You don't need that. I don't need this story. I don't care how much you're doing. You're doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
I'm fucking busy too. And for a long time, it was the wrong stuff, which is why I was miserable.
The only thing I felt, why I feel so, why I ask you if it's a naive or so, because I'm not making that much income or not at all income now. This is
who cares? Who cares? So you're not making a lot of income, which only means if you stay in the place that you're in, you're going to stay trapped because you don't have enough income. You're not going to have enough income next year either.
Yeah.
Take a risk. Live a little. You can come back to this.
Yeah. This was exactly what I was feeling the whole time.
Well, I hope this is exactly what you do.
Yeah.
Because feeling it, unless it activates action, you might as well just fart because it doesn't do anything. Like it just is like, you need to get frustrated and say, I'm done with this. I am sick of myself. In fact, let's pick a date right now. What day are you going to Japan or going to another country or quitting this job? Give me the day. Let's commit publicly right now. It's March 22nd.
March or April.
Give me a date. Let's pull the calendar.
Okay, let's say April the 1st.
April 1st? Hell yes. All right, great. You're going to keep
Okay.
us posted on where you're doing and what your plan is.
I will.
Will you put Glow Autonomo, her account in the in Instagram? Thank you. She started travel blogging, I think 7 years ago. And really amazing woman, really good friend of mine, super inspiring.
Okay.
Help her. She'll give you
Okay.
tips. And I think on her YouTube channel, she's got all kinds of stuff about how to get started. She's killer.
I also haven't found an illustrator who does this because I would love to
Great. So,
incorporate both.
listen, I think your ideas are incredible. Go do them.
Okay.
Here's an illustration. You ready?
Yeah.
Give us an illustration of the moment that you got off your ass and quit that job. And then give us an illustration of you like buying the plane ticket. And then give us an illustration of how scared you are as you see the savings go down a little. And then give us an illustration of what your partner looks like when he's like, wait, what? We're going where? And then give us an illustration of your first day in Japan.
Yeah.
And then take us on the journey with you.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.